Hey everyone, I'm back again with another, let's just say, again, another one of these falsely advertised, deceptively advertised mini PCs. This one in particular is a BMAX 6 Plus. And if we go over here and we go take a look at uh, the Amazon page for this, which I will bring up here in just a second. There we go. You will see that it has an i5 Celeron, essentially, 12 gigabyte, etc., etc., etc. Now, this machine, again, is another one of those that comes with Windows 11, even though it's not supported in Windows 11, and I will explain that to you in a moment. If you'll notice here, right over here, we have an i3 100 NG4. That is not on the Windows 11 support list. What is on the Windows 11 support list is an i3 1000 G4. And I will show you that here. We go to page here, we scroll down, and we scroll down, and there it is right there. An i3 1000 G4. You will not find an NG4 on this list. So that's what you're kind of looking at. That's the problem. This is not supported under Windows 11. Comes with it, yes, but it's not supported. So very much like we had with the Chewy, I'm going to convert this to something that's, at least in my opinion, useful, if you will. And certainly something that we don't have to worry about Windows 11 compatibility. So what I did find interesting about the BMAX is under this cover, there are two NVMe slots in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this into, possibly one of the smallest solid state NASs you've ever seen. And we're going to use the stuff that I use, which is XigmaNAS, and we're going to boot it off a USB. So we don't have to worry about not having another drive slot or anything like that. We're going to take and put two NVMe drives in here, 4 terabytes. We're going to set them up in a RAID 1 configuration, and this thing will sit on the shelf. You'll have a power cable plugged in, an Ethernet cable plugged in, and a USB thumb drive plugged into it, and that's it. It will be a completely functional NAS. So with that having been said, let's get started, and we'll go through the entire process for you. Okay, so to get this project started, we need to get all of our software in line. So the very first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over here and we're going to search for XigmaNAS. That's the first one here. And you can read about all the stuff if you want to. It's up to you. We're going to go to the download link. And 64-bit architecture. 32-bit's no longer supported anymore. And that'll take us to here. And we want the latest one, which is this one right here. Yes, it's buried down a couple. Now, what we're going to be using is we're going to be using the live USB, because I'm going to be doing everything through USB drives. There is an ISO that if you have a normal DVD, CD, ROM drive that you can attach via USB, it would also work doing that. But I want to do everything with thumb drive, so we're going to download that. Okay, now that our software is downloaded, we're going to have to extract this file. So here's our file here. Now you're going to need a different file extractor than the built-in Windows File Explorer, because Windows Explorer doesn't know what to do with this thing. So that's not going to work. I have 7-zip installed on this, which it will allow me to do. and I can just open it up, or I can just extract the files, and I will extract the files. And it will show you here. It's just going to extract it down with the name. I'm going to hit OK. All right, so we've got our image file here. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to burn this onto a flash drive. So in order to do that, I tend to use Rufus, which I believe I do have here. There's Rufus right here. Let's bring Rufus over here. And there's the drive. That drive is there. We're going to blow everything off of there. And we're going to select the correct ISO, which in this case should be in here. There's the disk image file right there. And we're going to let it do everything it needs to do. Hit start. It's going to warn us that it'll overwrite everything that's on there. That's fine. This is a USB 2.0, I think, 8 gig drive, and I really don't care, so it's fine. Just hit OK. I could have blanked it and it wouldn't have given me all this trouble, but it will write the image file to the USB drive, and once that's done, we'll have a bootable USB thumb drive to do the install of our XigmaNAS. So we'll let this continue, and once this is finished, we'll get to the hardware part of this. Okay, first things first. Obviously, we have our BMAX here. First thing we want to do is we want to get the drive that's already in here out. So we're going to get these screws out. Okay, we're going to open this up. Okay. And here are our two NVMe slots here. Obviously, this one's already got a drive in it. This drive we're going to be taking out, setting aside. Now, there's something I want you to kind of take a look at real quick here. And some of you may notice and may not notice. The slot that this drive was in says NVMe underscore 4X. The other slot over here says NVMe underscore 1X. Okay, so what does that mean? Basically, what that means is that whatever drive is in here is using 4 PCI lanes. Whatever drive in here is only using 1 PCI lane. So this drive will be slower. How much slower? Well, significantly slower, but not enough to worry about. I've tested this drive in the 1X slot, and the speed I got was somewhere around 815 megabytes per second. That's not going to be a problem in this particular project. We're only running a 1 gigabit LAN, which the maximum transfer speed over a 1 gigabit LAN is 125 megabytes per second. So this is not going to be a problem. So with that, we're going to proceed, and I'm going to go put the drives in. Okay, so here are our pair of 4 terabyte drives. So we're going to continue on, and I'm going to take out this one little screw here so I can tie down the other one. Now, both of these drives come with heat sinks, but unfortunately there's not enough clearance here, I think, to put the heat sink on. I may look at that later on, but for the purposes of this, again, we're not going to be running these drives at top speed. It's just not going to happen. We're going to be throttled with the speed of the land, which is not going to come close to making these things heat up. So I'm going to put them in. Like so. There we go. And that's all we have to do as far as the insides of this is concerned. So we'll move on to the next phase, where we're going to actually wind up doing the installation and do the software configuration for the NAS operating system itself. Okay, so here's what we got. This is our 8 GB USB thumb drive. This is the installer for XigmaNAS. We're going to be plugging this in. I've got a blank 16 GB USB thumb drive that we're going to install the system onto, and that's what we're going to boot from. Now, since I removed the original drive and put in the two 4 terabytes in here, I'm guessing that this is probably not going to boot off of this thumb drive initially, because I believe that secure boot I still have enabled in here, and it's not going to like the fact that I removed that drive. But we're going to take a look and find out. So let me go over to here and move everything away. There we go. I've got my dongle here for my keyboard and mouse that I'm going to need at least a little bit of. So we're going to put that to the side for a moment. All right, so let's turn this on and see if it does exactly what I think it's going to do. Yes, invalid signature detected, secure boot policy. So we're going to have to go in and check that out. Give us 2 warnings, and then, all right, pops us into the BIOS. So with that, let me take this off the screen for the moment. All right, we're going to go in and we're going to disable secure boot, which should be here. There we go. Alrighty, we're going to change that to disabled. F10 and close that. Yes, we're sure we want to save that. Okay, now at this point, it should boot. There it goes. So it's already starting up. We'll let it start up and do its thing. You probably can't tell, but this is actually lighting up. There it is. So it's actually booting off of that. And at some point we will get to a boot screen, or a menu, I should say, that will allow us to do the install. All right, so here's our main menu. Obviously, it's all text-based. Now, we're going to now insert our blank 16 GB drive. Which it does recognize. Now, from that menu, just above that, we're going to go in and we're going to select option 9, where it says install upgrade. And it's going to start us through the installation process. So we're going to be installing embedded. I'll take this out of the setup here so you can see this in its entirety. So we're going to install embedded, which is the first option. We're going to select the second option, which install embedded OS EFI. That's the one we're going to do. Now, I could have done the first one, but I found an interesting little problem. When I selected that, for some reason, the drive that was created would not boot off of any Intel system that I have in here that didn't have a discrete graphics card, and it was very weird. I don't understand why that was. So I found out and figured out that option 2 is the one we actually want. So it's going to go through here, and we're going to create all our partitions. It wants to know what the source drive is, which is obviously the 8 GB. Now it asks us, what do we want to install to? Well, there are the 2 4 terabyte drives. Well, those are going to be our storage, so we're not going to be installing there. We're going to install the 16 GB. Now it asks us the size of the OS partition. That's perfectly fine. That's the default. It wants to know what the size of the swap partition wants to be. Well, this is a 16 GB drive, so I'm going to increase this to about half the drive. So that should take care of that. Oh, value is too low. Oh, because I forgot the M. That's why. There we go. Gotta have the M. So, my mistake. Alrighty, it wants to know the size of the data partition or all to use the rest of the drive. We'll hit all. And then we'll just let it go through the install process and we can watch everything go blinky blinky here. Let me get this back on the screen that we want. And there we go. It's all blinky blinky. This should not take very long, actually. This shouldn't take more than maybe a couple of minutes. So everything's blinky blinky. Okay. It says that it has been installed. So we'll hit enter to continue. That'll bring us back to this screen. And all we're going to do now is we're just going to exit here. And that's it. At this point now, what we can do is we'll simply take out this drive here. And then we'll go from that menu. We'll go to number 7, where it says reboot server. And it asks, yes, I'm sure we want to reboot. Hit enter. And then at this point, assuming I did everything correctly, we should boot off of this and be presented with a screen. Now, you will note that I do not have the network cable plugged in right now. I want to configure the IP address on this. It defaults to 192.168.1.250. That's, I guess, okay, but I don't want it on that default. I want to set an actual IP address. Whenever you're dealing with servers, you should always set your IP address manually. Okay, so we need the login. Well, the default login from the console is root. And then the password is XigmaNAS. There we are. So we want to configure number 2, the network IP address. And it says, do we want to use DHCP? The answer to that is no. Your server should never be on DHCP. So it asks us what IP address we want. I'm going to put in 30. Hit OK. And the netmask will just accept as the default. It wants a default IP gateway, which I'm just going to point it to my router. So 192.168.1.1. That'll point it to the router itself. It wants to know the DNS. Again, I will just have it point at the router. The router can go out and get what it needs. So none of this is that terribly difficult. So do you want to configure IPv6? No, at this point I do not. Okay, it's going to reinitialize the interface. It says it's been changed. And it says that I can now access this through the GUI, because that's the way we're going to do everything else. The rest of this is all going to be done through a web browser. So we'll hit enter to continue, and there it is. We have the IP address. Now I'm going to go plug the network cable in. I'll pull up a browser, and our next phase will be to do all the configuration that we need to do. So I'll see you here in a second. All right, so here's what our final configuration is really going to look like here. Okay. Power, Ethernet cable, thumb drive that we're booting from. That's pretty much it. I've taken away the HDMI cable because I don't really need to do anything else with this once it's set. Once it's like this, everything else is done through a web browser. So let's go ahead and do this. So we're going to go over here, and I'm going to into the IP address 192.168.1.30. And there it is. There's our XigmaNAS. Now, again, for the web interface, that's something else. For the web interface, you have to put in admin and the same password, XigmaNAS. And there we are. So that's our setup. Now I'm going to do a little bit of scaling here. So bear with me just a moment. There we go. Just want it to be visible. All right, so let's go through some of the stuff that you should probably do up front. First thing you should probably do is, I think it should be under general. Yes, you want to change the user name. You don't want to leave it admin. There's also password is in here somewhere. I'm trying to remember where it is. It's been a little while since I've done this. Okay, so there it is. Password is here. So you're gonna create it. You put in the current XigmaNAS password. You put in whatever password that you want. You want to make sure to change this, obviously, to something else other than admin. I'm not going to do any of this right now because I'm not interested in that. This is just to show you how it's done. I'll leave it up to you to decide whether you want to do any of this, number one, and even play with the system. But this is only going to be a temporary setup. It's going to go away. All right, so under disks, we have disk management. And you'll notice that there's nothing here. And if we try to hit rescan, we get nothing. So there's nothing here. What you have to do here is you got to go to import. And it says, do you want to import the disks? Yes. Okay. Now it shows you that's the drive we booted from. And here are our two 4 terabyte drives. You're going to hit apply changes. So now we have the drives. Okay, under format, we're going to do a ZFS storage pool. We're going to select these 2 drives here. And we're going to hit next. And it wants a volume label for the pool. So we're just going to put in, let's put in test pool, because that's really all we need to know at this point. And we can create it on ZFS2P partition, which I don't know. I think I'm going to leave it there and let's see what it does. Okay, it accepted that. And all we have to do now is hit format. And it will give us a bunch of commands here. It says it's done with the first drive, it's done with the second drive, so that's all done. Okay, so that's that. We're going to go back into disks. We're going to go into ZFS, and we have to, I believe, create a pool here. Yes, we need to create a pool. It says that we had to add the virtual device first, so we'll go to the virtual device first. Like I said, it's been a little while since I've done this. So we're going to hit the plus. We're going to, both drives, we select all the drives. It gives us options that we can do. We're going to set up a mirror. And you want to create a mirror from this. Okay, we probably have to give it a name. Again, I'm just going to use the same name again. I'm just going to use test pool because all this is this is a demonstration more than it is anything else. So 2 drives, and you'll notice if I uncheck one of the drives, it just gives me plain disk, it gives me hot spare, it gives me cache. It all depends on what it is that you're doing, whether it gives you the option. So we're going to hit mirror. And we're going to create this pool. It says configuration has been changed. We'll apply changes. Okay, so there we go. Now we should be able to, at this point, I believe we'll create a volume. Pools. Okay, so we have to add the pool first. So we're going to hit plus. Here's our test pool. All right. We're going to name everything the same at this point because it really is not going to worry about. Mount point, I think we can leave that blank. We hit this one here and we hit add. Okay, apply changes. So we have our pool. Okay, so we have our pool set up. The next thing we have to do is set up the share. So the very first thing we should do is we want to enable SMB. Don't touch anything that's in here. You should be fine. Hit enable. Now it should be running. Now we got to go over to this tab where it says shares. We don't have anything set yet, so obviously we'll hit the plus. And again, we're just going to put test pool here. We're going to put test here. And we're going to select where the mount point is. And the mount point is going to be that right there. And hit OK. Don't change anything that's in here. Leave everything just as it is. It should be fine. Hit add. Hit apply changes. And everything should be good. Now, I should be able to open up File Explorer, which I already have opened here. And I should be able to go into here and do a /192.168.1.30. There's our test pool share right there. We open it up. It has a recycle bin, which is set by default. You don't have to. If you want to, you can go back in and disable the recycle bin. I like to have it just in case. All right, so theoretically, we should be able to copy data to this. So let's go. I'll go into the downloads folder. And I'll just pick something at random. Let's see, what do we got? Oh, pick something at random. There's a, that's okay. Actually, that's even better. That's an ISO file. So we're going to hit and copy. We'll go back one. Right click and hit paste, and it should work. And there it is. It's working. So we're good to go. We are now copying data to our new NAS. So there you go. You should be all set to go. And I mean, the speed is not all that incredible, but again, we're talking about 1 gigabit LAN, talking basically a Celeron and 12 gig of memory. If you want, we can go back into here and we can look at the system, and it will show you, you know, how much stress this thing is actually under, which is almost literally none. But there you go. We've just set up probably one of the smallest solid state NASs that you'll probably ever see. So I think that's pretty much it. I don't know that anything else really needs to be done or said, but I will. There you go. File is done. Let's go over here. And there's our file. So we're all set. We're good to go. All right. I'll be back with a few thoughts and we'll go from there. All right. One last thing, guys, I forgot to mention, and it's actually pretty critical here. Can't believe I forgot this. Let's go back in. We have to map a network drive here in order to really access this without going through all of the stuff that I'm going through here. So we'll go back and get to the NAS itself, the test pool. Right click, map network drive. You can pick any drive letter you want. For this experiment, we're going to leave it at Z. I'm not going to reconnect it when I log back in to the streamer. So it'll disappear. But all this is sitting here. We'll finish this, and we have our Z drive right down here. And if we right click on it and select properties, we see that it is the 3.8 terabyte that it's supposed to be. And if we run Crystal Disk Mark on it, which I will do here in just a second. Okay, we can run Crystal Disk Mark on this if you're curious. And we've got the Z drive here already set. We're just going to run the basic test on this. Now remember, top speed that we can expect is 125 megabytes per second over a 1 gigabit LAN. So let's run the test and see what we got, shall we? Okay, there we go. There's our speed, 118. So if we take 118, divide by 125, we get 94% of the speed that we can expect. Now remember, 125 megabytes is ideal, no other traffic on the network, etc. So I'm getting 94% of the bandwidth that I'm supposed to get. That's a winner in my book. All right, final thoughts here in a minute. Well, see you then. All right, you've seen the process. That's it. Here is the solid state NAS, as I said. Power cable, Ethernet cable, USB, and that's what we're booting off of. And to show you that it actually is working, there is the NAS in question. You see that we have a total of almost, there has to be some space left to format, but here's our 4 terabytes. Everything is here. We go and take a look at our disks here. There's our 2 4 terabyte drives. There's our USB that we booted off of. So everything is here. Everything is done. So I have an extra 4 terabyte NAS to do what I want with it. I could just as easily probably have, I could use it for doing just backups of the PCs that are on the network. I can just have them map to this, and anytime I want to do a backup on a PC, store it here instead of on the main NAS. You know, there's a lot of different things I can probably do with this thing, but that's it. That's our project. This is done. Now I know that when I originally did the Chewy HTPC, I thought about doing the same thing with this one. I'm not entirely sure that I'm going to make a video on that or not. I'm still up in the air about it. I think probably if I do that, it'll be, I don't know that it's going to be Kodi again. Some people have made a little bit of noise at me about trying to use Plex. I've never used Plex. I've never used Kodi for that matter until I did the video. But I think maybe I might give that a whirl. Plus, I'm probably going to demonstrate having put, again, we'll put Linux on this as well. And we'll burn some DVDs so that they can be stored on the NAS. Do that too. So anyway, that's our project. It's done. Tell me what you think. Leave a comment down there. Give me a thumbs up if you want, or thumbs down. I'll take those too. I'm not going to worry about it. I did this because I thought it was a neat project to do. Hopefully you agree with me. If not, well, you know, what are you going to do? Anyway, I'll see you next time. As I said, possibly an HTPC with this, but also demonstrating how to burn DVDs in Linux. So we'll see. We'll see. Anyway, hopefully you have a good day, and I'll catch you down the line. Thanks.